Okay, let's jump right in. Imagine this for a second. 5 years back, you put, say, $1,000 into a company, Shopify, just a single grand. Now, fast forward to today. Any guesses?
And what's fascinating, I think, isn't just the number, but the story behind it. Shopify Inc., Canadian company, started back in 2006.
Ottawa, yeah, absolutely. And that's really our mission for this deep dive, isn't it? To get under the hood of Shopify. What's actually driven this incredible growth? We want to look at the financials, sure, but also the e-commerce innovations they've pushed, sort of a shortcut to what really matters here.
And connecting that to the bigger picture. Shopify is basically providing the plumbing, the internet infrastructure for, well, modern commerce.
Yeah.
Their main thing is this global platform for businesses, big and small. And the key part, I think, is their whole no-code angle.
Right, makes it accessible.
Exactly. It really opens up online, selling to, almost anyone.
And it's way more than just building a website, isn't it? They seem focused on being, well, everywhere.
That's the omni-channel play. Your own store, mobile apps, social media feeds, even linking up with actual physical stores.
Okay, so they're doing a lot. Where does the money actually come from? How do they generate revenue?
Good question. It breaks down into two main streams. The biggest slice, maybe around 70%, comes from what they call merchant services. These are basically tools that help merchants sell stuff. So think Shopify Payments for handling the actual transactions.
Okay.
Shopify Capital, which is their lending arm. Shop Pay Installments, that's the buy now, pay later thing.
Yeah, seeing that everywhere.
Right. And then tools for shipping, taxes, all that operational stuff.
So their income there is sort of tied directly to how much their merchants are selling.
Exactly. It scales with their merchants' success. Clear link.
Makes sense. And the other chunk, the remaining 30%.
That comes from subscription solutions.
Right.
This is more predictable. It's the monthly fee merchants pay just to use the platform itself. They've got different levels, basic, Shopify, advanced,
yeah,
and then Shopify Plus, which is their higher-end version for bigger companies, the enterprises.
Got it. So a mix, stable subscriptions plus the transaction-based services. Now, you can't talk tech today without mentioning AI. How's Shopify using artificial intelligence?
Yeah, that's crucial for staying ahead, isn't it? They've rolled out some interesting AI tools. Magic is one.
Magic.
Yeah, it helps merchants auto-generate product descriptions. Saves a ton of time, supposedly. And then there's Sidekick.
Sidekick, like a helper.
Pretty much. An AI assistant for merchants helping with different tasks, trying to make them more efficient.
Sounds like a real plus,
Right.
especially for smaller shops without huge teams. Frees them up.
Definitely a value add.
Okay, so beyond these core bits and the AI, what else is in the Shopify world? Any other platforms or tools?
Well, they keep expanding. There's Shopify Markets that's geared towards helping businesses sell internationally, handles things like currencies, local rules.
Global reach.
Right. And then there's the Shop app. That's actually for consumers, for us. You can discover brands, track your orders from Shopify stores all in one place.
Interesting. And where are they seeing the most action, geographically speaking?
The U.S. is still their biggest market. No surprise there, really.
Right.
Then Canada, naturally. Europe, Asia-Pacific, Latin America are all significant too. But Southeast Asia seems to be a real hot spot for growth right now. Definitely one to watch.
Okay. And of course, they're not alone in this space. Who are the main competitors they're up against?
Oh, it's a busy field. You got the giant, Amazon, obviously. Then platforms like WooCommerce, that's big in the WordPress world. BigCommerce, Squarespace. And in Latin America, Mercado Libre is a major force.
Yeah.
So yeah, plenty of competition.
And who's steering the ship? Who are the key leaders making the big decisions at Shopify?
Well, you still got Tobias Lütke, the CEO and co-founder. He's very much focused on the product, innovation, global expansion. Then Jeff Hoffmeister is the CFO, focusing on financial discipline, profitability.
Important role.
Very. And Harley Finkelstein is president. He's really the face to the merchants, handles engagement, partnerships.
Okay, good overview. Let's get into the numbers then. Performance. What did the full year 2024 look like financially?
2024 was pretty strong overall. Revenue hit $8.88 billion. That's up nearly 26% from the year before.
Solid growth.
Yeah. And their gross merchandise volume, the GMV, basically the total value of everything sold on their platform that jumped to, up 24% to $292.3 billion.
Wow, huge number. And profitability. Did that growth translate to the bottom line?
Now, that's where it got really interesting in 2024. They posted a GAAP net income of $2 billion, which is a massive turnaround from just $132 million in 2023.
$2 billion.
Well, a big part of that was their decision to sell off their logistics business. plus some cost cutting.
Ah, okay, divestiture effect.
Exactly. But even their adjusted operating income was strong, $1.2 billion. And free cash flow was solid too, $1.3 billion.
So they didn't just grow, they got much more profitable. What about the sort of underlying health, like
Their
margins?
gross margin improved, yeah.
Mm.
Came in at 52.7%.
Mm.
So the core business itself is quite healthy. And they ended the year with a very comfortable cash cushion, $5.1 billion.
Strong position.
Definitely. And key drivers for that year included a really strong Q4 revenue boost, up 31%, and ShopPay just kept growing like crazy. GMV through ShopPay was up 57%.
57%, that's huge. Suggests people are really adopting it.
Yeah, points to a strong network effect building there. More users mean more merchants want it, which brings in more users. That kind of flywheel.
Okay, impressive momentum carrying out of 2024. Let's move into this year then. How did Q1 2025 shape up?
Q1 2025, the top-line growth continued. Revenue was $2.36 billion, up almost 27% year over year. That actually beat analyst estimates slightly.
Okay.
And both sides grew well. Subscription revenue up 34%, merchant solutions up 22%.
But didn't they report a loss? I seem to remember headlines about a Q1 loss.
You do. That's the key nuance for Q1. Despite the strong revenue, they reported a surprise GAAP net loss of $273 million.
Why the loss then?
The main culprit was very high stock-based compensation. Came in at $514 million for the quarter.
Ah, stock-based comp. Okay, that explains the GAAP versus non-GAAP difference sometimes.
Exactly. On a non-GAAP basis, their earnings per share were 0.25 cents, which was actually right in line with what analysts expected.
So maybe more of an accounting hit than a sign the core business faltered.
That seems a fair way to look at it. Their GMV for the quarter was $76.6 billion, up 22% year over year. That was maybe a touch below some expectations, but still strong growth.
And ShopPay, did that momentum continue?
It did. Another 57% jump in GMV processed through ShopPay. Just keeps climbing. And importantly, they still had positive adjusted operating income, $350 million, and strong free cash flow, $480 million. Healthy margins there too.
Okay, so underlying operations still looking pretty solid despite the JAP loss headline. What are they telling us about the next quarter, Q2 2025?
For Q2, their guidance is for revenue growth in the low to mid 20% range. That's excluding the impact of the logistics business they sold off.
Right.
They're also expecting gross margin around 53% and free cash flow margin about 20%. And interestingly, they don't seem too worried about tariffs right now, expecting minimal impact.
Okay, so it sounds like they expect the core growth story to continue. What did they flag as the main drivers in Q1, and what were the maybe headwinds or challenges?
Well, the drivers are pretty consistent.
Yeah.
Strong subscription growth, ShopPay adoption just keeps rolling, and those AI tools, Magic and Sidekick, are starting to contribute positively.
And the challenge?
The challenge was definitely that Q1 net loss headline, driven by the stock comp, and the slight GMV miss. That did spook the market a bit, caused a stock drop. So managing that stock-based compensation and navigating any potential tariff uncertainty remain, ongoing risks.
Makes sense. Let's talk about the stock itself then. Where's it trading now, and what's the general feeling among analysts?
Okay, so as of mid-May 2025, the stock was around $88.74. Now that's down a bit from recent peaks, but it's still up about 13% compared to a year ago.
Okay.
Though, it's worth noting, its gain in 2024 didn't quite keep pace with the overall S&P 500, which had a very strong year.
Right.
Market cap is substantial, about $144.65 billion. Analyst consensus is generally a moderate buy.
Moderate buy.
Yeah, the average 12-month price target sits around $114.25. So, suggesting some potential upside from where it is now. But there's a really wide range in those targets. Some analysts are down at $85, others are way up at $150. JP Morgan actually just bumped theirs up to $120, specifically mentioning the AI potential.
That wide range tells a story, doesn't it? Lots of differing opinions on the valuation.
Absolutely. It highlights the tension between that growth story and the current price multiples.
Speaking of multiples, what are the valuation metrics actually looking like? Is it expensive? Cheap?
Well, by traditional measures, it definitely looks pricey. Forward PE is around 75, price to sales about 14, price to gross profit around 29.
High numbers.
They are high, but context matters. They are lower than the crazy peaks we saw during the pandemic e-commerce boom. Still, for a value investor, yeah, probably looks quite expensive.
Always interesting to check the the chatter online, too. What are people saying about Shopify on platforms like
Oh, it's
X?
definitely a split camp on X. You see the bulls pointing to the strong revenue growth rate, the huge GMV numbers, quoting those higher analyst targets, some predicting, $150, even close to $200 by year end.
Ambitious.
Very. Then the bears, they focus squarely on those high valuation multiples, the Q1 Jap loss.
Yeah.
They see it as overvalued and predict it might pull back, maybe towards the $80, $85 range.
So a real tug of war between growth potential and valuation concerns. Let's pivot to some operational stuff. How big is the company in terms of people, and how many merchants are actually using it?
Right, so employees,
Mm.
around 8,300 globally as of May, and the merchant count keeps climbing 4.6 million stores now across 175 countries. That's up a solid 20% from the year before.
Still growing fast, then.
Yeah. And we mentioned the GMV numbers already. $292 billion in 2024, $76.6 billion in Q1 25.
And that ShopPay system you mentioned, how integrated is that? How much volume goes through it?
It's becoming really central. In the last quarter of 2024, it processed 56% of all the GMV in the U.S.
Over half. Wow.
Yeah, up from 50% the year before. So that adoption curve is steep. It's becoming really sticky.
What about their slice of the whole e-commerce pie? What's their market share estimate?
In the U.S., estimates put them around 10% of the e-commerce market. Globally, though, it's still estimated at less than 1%.
Less than 1% globally.
Yeah, which really just highlights how much runway there potentially is for international growth. Some analysts think that's a huge untapped opportunity.
Okay. And they keep rolling out new things. What were some key product developments over the last year or so, and how are they doing?
Well, those AI tools we talked about, Magic and Sidekick, they seem to be contributing to that strong subscription revenue growth we saw, the 34% in Q1.
Makes sense.
There's even been chatter online comparing their AI favorably to competitors like WooCommerce.
And helping merchants sell overseas.
Right, Shopify Markets Pro. That's designed to make international selling easier, handles shipping, payments, compliance. And that seems to be working, contributing to that 22% growth in international GMV in Q1. Seeing good traction in Southeast Asia, Latin America especially.
And ShopPay itself. Any big changes there?
They keep tweaking it, adding features like the installments option, Shop Cash rewards, trying to make checkout smoother for buyers and build loyalty for sellers. And that 57% GMV growth suggests it's resonating.
What about businesses that have physical stores too, the omni-channel aspect?
Yeah, they've been upgrading their point of sale, their POS system, trying to better link online and offline sales. And offline GMV saw decent growth, 32% in Q1. Still a smaller part of the overall picture, but growing.
Okay.
And Shopify Plus, their enterprise offering, continues to get enhanced features, and that segment's showing strong revenue growth as well.
All right, let's try and crystallize this. If you had to summarize Shopify's main strengths right now, what would they be?
Okay, strengths.
Yeah.
Strong, consistent revenue growth, obviously. Achieving significant net income in 2024 was a big plus. The sheer scale of their GMV is huge and growing. They have strong leadership, clearly. Those AI tools seem genuinely useful. ShopPay's growth is phenomenal. They're in a growing market. E-commerce isn't slowing down.
Right.
And they generate strong free cash flow. Lots of positives.
Okay. And on the flip side, the main risks or challenges?
The big one is probably valuation. Those high multiples make the stock potentially more volatile. The Q1 surprise net loss and GMV miss show that volatility can happen.
Right.
Potential impact from tariffs is always a background risk for the merchants. And as we said, it's a super competitive space. Amazon isn't going anywhere.
We talked analyst ratings, online buzz. Can you just sum up the general market feeling about Shopify?
I'd say it's
Yeah.
cautiously optimistic. Analysts mostly see upside, driven by growth, AI, omnichannel. But there's definitely that caution mixed in, mostly around the valuation of the recent Q1 numbers. It's not clear-cut bullishness across the board.
So putting it all together, what's the overall outlook? Where might Shopify be heading?
Well, forecasts generally suggest Shopify could keep outperforming the market over, say, a 5-year horizon. That's based on projected strong growth in revenue and earnings.
But
But it hinges on them keeping that growth engine running, navigating competition, and, what the wider economy does. Price forecasts for this year are all over the place, some very bullish, others much more conservative.
right. Okay, let's circle all the way back to where we started. That hypothetical $1,000 invested 5 years ago. Can you break down the math for us?
Sure. So May 17th, 2020, Shopify's stock price, adjusting for the 10-for-1 split they did in June 2022, was about $7.58 a share.
$7.58. Okay.
So your $1,000 would have bought you roughly 131.9 shares.
Got it.
Fast forward to May 17th, 2025. The price was $88.74. So those 131.93 shares, they'd be worth $11,707.83.
11,700 from 1,000. That's incredible.
It really is. That works out to a total return of a 9,070.78%.
Over 1,000%.
Yeah. Or an annualized return of about 64.3%. And remember, Shopify doesn't pay dividends. That's purely stock price appreciation.
Wow.
Of course, you have to remember the ride wasn't smooth. Lots of volatility along the way. But yeah, that initial grand turned into quite a sum. Definitely beat the S&P 500 over that period.
So the headline really is Shopify's growth, their innovation AI, Shop Pay. It really did translate into massive returns for investors over these last 5 years.
Exactly. That's the story the numbers tell. But as we've laid out, there are factors causing volatility now. Valuation, that recent gap loss, potential tariff impacts, things to watch.
Absolutely. And maybe that leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener, looking at Shopify's journey and just how fast e-commerce changes. What's next for these big platforms? Can this kind of growth keep going against fierce competition? Especially with tech always evolving and the global economy always shifting, definitely something to ponder. If you want to dig deeper yourself, check out shopifyinvestors.com. And keep an eye out for their next earnings report. Q2 2025 results are expected around August 6th, 2025.